this game at Hampden Park?
It's a huge game for our football club and everyone involved, the fans, the players, myself and my staff. It's a huge privilege to be involved in this game. I think I always contemplate that, that a rivalry like this that's world renowned, it's, I believe, the biggest rivalry in the world, and we're privileged as a country to have it here. I think it's a fantastic final for the neutral. I don't remember a game where the two teams went into it in such fine form as well. So really looking forward to it. Can't wait for Sunday to finally arrive and all the preparations to be out of the way. And as I say, really looking forward to it.
Given the run of form of both teams, what impact will that have on the game, and something's got to give?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of respect between the two sets of players and the management teams. I think it's two very good teams going head to head. Both teams have got a lot of experience in these types of games. If I look at my own squad, wasn't so long ago we was playing a European final and then very quickly a Scottish Cup final. So we've played here last month in a semi-final. So in that sense, we're well versed in this type of game in the build-up of the week, and it's about just going to perform on the day.
Last time the two teams met in this final, you were a coach at Rangers. Does that hurt? Is that hurt still there amongst you and some of the players that are still here? And does that drive you on in a way?
There's a disappointment. I thought we performed pretty well on the day between the two boxes. We didn't execute where you have to in a decisive game in the boxes. We didn't, and that's a regret. But I think that was in our own hands that day. We missed good opportunities against a very good opponent, and we didn't win the trophy. It's one they have and we don't have in terms of the record books, and obviously we want to add to our trophy cabinet at the weekend. It's for some of the players in my squad. I think it's the one that's missing.
Still early, Michael, but can you give us an update on the injuries you spoke about at the weekend?
Yeah, no real positive news right now. None of the boys returned to training today. We know we have a long injury list. We've had it for the time that I've been back in and prior to me coming back. I thought the team that you saw at the weekend will be very close to the type of team we've put out for this cup final, and it performed well. If we get one or two additions back, that will be a bonus, but I'm not counting on it right now.
Is this a game where you would take gambles on the fitness of some of the players?
Only if I thought they were able to get through it. It's a final. I think we live in a fantasy world. If we think players lace their boots up every week in a fantastic physical condition, I think it's a final. It's a final against a big rival. So I have 100% faith that one or two will declare themselves fit around Friday or Saturday. Whether they are 100%, I'll have to make the choice on that. I think this is why you build a squad, and we're quite blessed in terms of the level of player that we have and we can call upon.
Michael, I know it's about the club and the players, but I wonder for you personally, how big a week is this? How big a deal is this? Your first final as a manager in your own right? Yeah,
obviously I stepped out in the summer to become a manager. I've not made 40 games yet, and I have the privilege of managing Rangers in a huge derby and a cup final. So it's when I look back in later years, it'll be something that I'm proud of. It's important you seize the opportunity in front of you. I don't play the game. My players play it. I have to give them a roadmap and make sure they're in a good physical and mental place before the game. For me, when I came back to Rangers, this was the type of things and type of days I was looking for. So I'm going to make sure that I enjoy the week and everything around it. And to do that, I want the players to perform at the weekend. So you try not to think too much about yourself and about what it means to the fans and obviously preparing the team correctly.
I spoke to you prior to the New Year derby, and you were quite candid that there was a gap at that point between the two teams. You're still trying to catch up with Celtic. Do you feel that you've managed to narrow that gap with the good run of form that you've been in? Do you feel it's two pretty equal teams now, or is there still something to catch?
I think that's for people outside to judge. I'd say we're in a better position than we were. After this weekend, we have a lot of work to do regardless of the outcome. This is a one-off game, a cup final between two rivals, and I think both teams will go head-to-head. But come Monday morning, whatever the outcome, I still have a big job to do. We have a number of contract situations, a number of things in terms of where we want to take the club, in terms of making us stronger moving forward. The focus on that will return on Monday morning regardless of the result this weekend. This weekend it's about focus on this game and making sure we do ourselves justice and come away in a good place. And a good place for us will be obviously winning the trophy.
be a huge boost, wouldn't it, for you and the club, were you to be successful on Sunday for the rest of the season? I mean,
Yeah, listen, we want to win the League Cup. We want to win all the cups that are in front of us, and we want to win the League Cup. But that's not ultimately why I'm here. Why I'm here is obviously to win the league, and we're behind in that. Our form's been very good. Their form's been very good as well. So we've not been able to cut the points gap. There's still lots of football to be played. Of course, we want to win the League Cup, but there's bigger things in my mind after that as well. So it's part of ticking a box towards where I ultimately want to take us.
I saw you take a walk out in the Hampden pitch there. How do you think it looks compared to last month?
Well, we were unfortunately ourselves and Aberdeen were the third and fourth teams to play on it that weekend, and obviously the weather the day before had hurt us. There's no one playing before us this weekend. It's clear that there's been a lot of work on the pitch, and we hope that the weather's kind to us between now and the weekend, because it's two excellent football teams, and I think the pitch will play a big part in the game as well in terms of allowing the game to be the spectacle it should be.
There's a lot of external noise leading up to a game of this magnitude. How do you feel is the best way for yourself and the players to deal with that?
No, we just have a normal week. As I say, we're a group of players and staff that have played a lot of big games domestically and in Europe over the last 3 or 4 years. So there's only a couple of players in our team that would be new to it, in Todd and Nico, and it's okay. The experienced ones in the room will be able to help them. They come from playing for two teams that are playing big leagues, and certainly in Nico's case played in Europe as well. So nothing changes really. We like to get the media out the way nice and early, and then we like to do our preparation the same. Nothing will change in terms of how we prepare for this game. It's obviously an opponent we know very well and all.
As you spoke about this being the last trophy to complete the set of the banner at the weekend, you know, talking about the two trophies that they've won in the last 5 years, is this as much for the players about, you know, they've got the monkey off the back in terms of winning stuff? Does it now need to become a regular thing and add 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, listen, out of the last 4 trophies that were handed out in Scotland, 2 were handed to Rangers, the league, and then Celtic won the league. Celtic won the League Cup and we won the Scottish Cup. Okay, so we're in a good place as a football club. It's important that we focus on that and we focus about having a strong future. I think this is an excellent cup final for the neutral, not just the Rangers and Celtic fans and players and everyone involved in it. I'm looking forward to that. We've got a worldwide support, and I feel that they're right behind this team and are quite excited about what the future holds.
You've won virtually every game since you come here, but you've not been able to make ground in Celtic, as you say. This time you win, you get something. Does that add an edge to it for you?
Oh, of course it does, because it's very much a us or them, or Rangers or Celtic. You know, it's very much that, and second is last. I get that in the league. I've come in and I said in my very first interview I didn't think it was as broken as everyone said. Hopefully now 14 games along we're on the mend and people are starting to see that. This weekend's performance and game is about winning. If we win, we've still got a lot of work to do moving forward, in my opinion. And if we lose, that same amount of work's going to be there on my in-tray on Monday morning. I think it's not focusing on being too emotional or dramatic about what the bigger picture looks like. Let's just focus on this 90 or 120 minutes or penalties, whatever it takes at the weekend. Take part in a fantastic game, do ourselves justice, and then come Monday, my job doesn't really change. I think I still have a big job, and that's a job that I was running back to this city to take part in. So I've got to be the most excited and optimistic about seeing it through.
How much better do you feel you know your squad than when you last played Celtic?
I was very fortunate that I knew this squad really well, and that's where my belief mechanisms come back and work with them. That's where it come from. We're in a better place. We're a better team than what we were then, but I also think they're in a better place as well. I think it's two teams, very good teams, going head to head. It's up for people outside to the one that they favour or the one that they like more on the eye or what they think. All I can control is the feelings and beliefs in our building and ultimately the way that we perform. But we're certainly in a better place than we were going into that game.
Alan McGregor was saying that you want to go in on the front foot and win this cup. How important is that early start? We've seen Celtic score goals early as well. How important for you is an early start to this to settle the team down?
Well, in the last game, we couldn't have had a worse start, could we? And we found a way of recovering. I think my team's shown that when things are against us, we've managed to come back in games and seen things through. So I like us to start better, but also continue to finish games well and all. I think these games are finished. These games are often, and you would prefer it that way, to be concluded by a moment of brilliance or a moment of magic rather than a poor player making a mistake in the game. And when I say poor, I mean afterwards, the way that you wouldn't want a big final to be the conclusion to be a young man making a mistake. You'd rather it be a moment of brilliance. And I think in both teams, there's more than enough people that can step forward for that. My hopes is that that's in a blue jersey.
Michael, how much has the mentality improved since you came in, and was there something in particular you worked on to make it better? Because it clearly is.
I think consistency. I think the club had a big issue with consistency earlier in the season. And I've had it for periods at a time since I've come back. We've had a lot of injuries this year. It's been something that, it's not an excuse. I think it's just a fact. I think if you look at the Rangers squad, it's got stronger as my time's come on, because people have returned from injury. We still have a list as long as we have fit. You know, if I go through Robbie McCrory not being available, Ridvan, Hollander, John Suter, Tom Lawrence, Scott Arfield, Stephen Davis, at the moment Ryan Jack, Lundstrom, Tillman. You start getting a little bit of an idea of how many excellent players have not been available to us. But certainly the back four and Alan have had some consistency now. Glenn Kamara's finding his feet again. Ryan Kent's been strong. Morelos, Sakala have been strong in their performances of late. Malik Tillman. So it's just that consistency and relationship on the pitch. I think the same players playing together with real clarity allows them to go and perform. And we've not had everything our own way. The results have gone well, but this team's still got another big step to make after this game. So whether we're really happy on Sunday night or we're lower than a snake's belly, come Monday morning, everybody has to know that Rangers have to improve. We have to jump again another 20%.
What is that big step they have to make still?
I think style, the way that we want to play the game. We're not as free as we were before, and maybe that's because of there's been some results that have knocked confidence. Again, consistency, adding some renewed energy to the squad like we have done with Nicholas Raskin and Todd Cantwell has brought a lovely energy into the group. It's brought competition as well. And I think come the summer, I'll be able to really implement my full ideas during a pre-season period. I've come in and picked it up and run with it, and the boys have been absolutely fantastic. I think that we'll get stronger with time.
You mentioned the global nature of the derby there. Whenever you step outside Glasgow and talk to people who haven't been in it, how do you describe it?
It's a fierce rivalry, but it's one that's an absolute pleasure to be involved in. I would like to have come to the game as a fan, as a young boy, or just a supporter of football. Because first and foremost, all of these players and the staff involved, we were fans and lovers of football before we ended up in these two clubs in the position we're in. It's a very privileged position. It's fierce, the rivalry. The best side of it, I think, it makes it the best derby in the world. And I think we have to focus on the positives. I think where the two teams are at the moment and the form that they're showing, I think we're going into a final which is a really big game for Scottish football in general. It keeps the focus on our league, and at the moment I think our league's in a good place. We have some really interesting players in both sides that could go and play at real high levels, and I think they've shown that the last couple of years. So I know it's got to be Rangers or Celtic or Rangers, but when I look back at this fixture, or when I stand back from this fixture and look at the two teams, there's a lot of good players. There's a lot to be thankful for in Scottish football for this game.
But whenever you think about the nature of the rivalry between the fans, how do you explain that to other people when you're in London, for example?
I think they explain it to me. Everyone's got their opinion of this one. I would say it's a fierce rivalry, and I think it's, as long as everyone respects each other and goes around it in the right way, then I think it's a beautiful rivalry, and it's what makes football what it is. I think we love this type of game. I think we would lose it if we didn't have it. We would really, really miss it, and it's very unique because we get to play each other 5, possibly 6 times a season if both teams are successful. So I think for my fans, for my family and friends down in London, it's always been a game that you love to watch on TV. You know, you made sure you watched it, and that's going back down the years. And I'm hoping that this class, this generation, these two teams are remembered fondly as well.
And the thing about a final is we get the two sets of fans in roughly equal measure, which we don't get at the home ground. So it makes a huge difference to the atmosphere in the fixture. Yeah,
it does, and I think it brings the full colour to the fixture as well, doesn't it? And I think it's obviously I've only experienced that once before here in the League Cup final, the last time, but we did have it in the Scottish Cup semi-final last year, and I thought it made for a fantastic game that day as well. You know, the fans are everything for this game, ain't they? We saw that in the season or the year and so where we couldn't have full capacity, and the fans are what the game's about. If there's no fans, there's no managers, there's no players, there's no professional sport. It's them that keep the game going.
Does that still rankle with you about the last League Cup final you were involved in?
Just about let it go.
Was there a derby that you went to as a kid, to Chelsea, Arsenal, or any London derbys?
Yeah, I try not to talk about Arsenal because they had a bit of nemesis when I was young. They was obviously on top. You know, Neil Banfield works for me now, who was alongside Arsene Wenger those years, and brought a lot of pain to my childhood. But no, there's nothing like this rivalry. That's nothing like this rivalry. I've obviously been at Liverpool, Everton. The Sao Paulo derbies are big. Palmeiras, Corinthians and Santos. No away fans there because of how feisty that it is, to give you an example. So they're big, but I think amongst derbies, this stands tall and alongside, above whatever derby you can think of. And that's why it's such a privilege to be involved in it. And I think the players that are lucky enough to play for both clubs will look back in years in the future with their children, their grandchildren, and they'll have some proud moments to look back on. This type of game, you have to seize the moment and opportunity that's in front of you.
Stevie, final question.
Michael, spoke about a lot of the players that aren't with us, but the ones that are, Nico Raskin's obviously made a really good start. Todd Cantwell, Kamar Roof had an excellent cameo on Saturday as well. So how pleased are you that you have more options, especially guys like Kamar Roof, who you spoke a lot about when you first came back?
Yeah, Kamaru's not in his best place physically at this moment in time, but obviously he only needs a moment. He's reading of things in and around the box. He needs a moment, and he'll take a chance. Nico Raskin's come into the club and it started well. I'll temper that a little bit with the two games that we've played where we've had a lot of possession. I think this game will be a much more even game in that sense, and they'll have to show other qualities. And I've been delighted with Todd as well. Todd and Nico are the exact type of players I want to bring into the club. They've got their best days in front of them. Really impressive young men, not just football players as well. And they're people that I can build around and go on a long journey with. And that's important. That's important that when the window reopens in the summer that we go again and add one or two more, because it adds competition and it pushes us in the direction that we want to go as a club. But for this game at the weekend, if we go off last weekend's team, we won't be too far away from that. So it's a big opportunity for one or two.
I'll just quickly ask, you mentioned it before, Scott Arfield's absence. That's never really been covered. What's the issue there, and how long is he?
Scott Arfield had a calf problem, has missed probably a month now. Will return to training at the back end of this week. So although he's missed a month, he should be available for selection if training goes well at the back end of the week.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thanks, fellas.